God bless America. Hello, everybody. I am the Talk Radio Protege. This is the Protege program. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you had a fantastic weekend, but we've got a lot to get to today, so I'm going to dive right into it. So, last week, there was a lot of conversation going on about Alex Jones and InfoWars getting banned from a lot of different social media outlets. Or was that 2 weeks ago? I don't know. It goes by so fast sometimes. Trump finally sent some additional tweets out. You might remember a while back he tweeted about shadow banning going on Twitter. That was before Alex Jones got banned. Then after Alex Jones got banned, Trump was silent for a while, and then he produced 3 additional tweets over the weekend. And a lot of people, or a lot of right-leaning people or free speech-minded people that I listen to on YouTube were saying, finally, it's about time that the president said something about this. So let's look at the tweets, and I don't want to look much at the Mediaite commentary around these tweets because I want to focus on what the president is trying to communicate. This first one, social media is totally discriminating against Republican and conservative voices, speaking loudly and clearly for the Trump administration. We won't let that happen. They are closing down the opinions of many people on the right, while at the same time doing nothing to others. Now, bare bones basic, is this truthful or not? Is this correct or not? Yeah, at a baseline level, this is correct. Now, something that Trump maybe could have said that might have bolstered his position is saying that social media are banning not just Republican and conservative voices who we don't want to see get banned off these platforms, but we're also seeing competitive voices being slowly encroached on by these censorship moves. The difference between the two sides here, the right-leaning side and the left-leaning side, is that when somebody gets banned on the right-leaning side, the right are the only people to speak up and say, you shouldn't be banning these people. When somebody gets banned on the left-leaning side, everybody wants to say, hey, you shouldn't be banning these people. There are elements of the left wing that want to see the right censored, and so they call for censorship of specific things. They don't call for censorship necessarily of the right, but they call for censorship of things like hate. And so then when social media decides, well, this person over here on the left has been hateful, then the left wing, of course, explodes. They say, how could you ban somebody that's on our team? Let's go on to the next tweet from the president. Too many voices are being destroyed, some good and some bad, and that cannot be allowed to happen. Who is making the choices? Because I can already tell you that too many mistakes are being made. Let everybody participate, good and bad, and we will all just have to figure it out. That's an excellent tweet by the president, saying that some people that are bad voices are being censored, and we should let them speak so that the people can figure out whether or not what is being said is good or bad. Now, I think there was a third tweet. Okay, here we go. This is the third tweet that I want to talk about, because after this, Mediaite kind of goes off on a little rabbit trail, but Trump tweets, censorship is a very dangerous thing and absolutely impossible to police. If you are weeding out fake news, there is nothing so fake as CNN and MSNBC, and yet I do not ask that their sick behavior be removed. I get used to it and watch with a grain of salt, or don't watch at all. Now, this is a extremely potent point that the president makes. I pointed out earlier that this theme here, my opponents say things that I wish they wouldn't say, but I don't want them banned from a platform for saying them. That's something that I wish he would have put in the first tweet and this tweet, so it can be a continuing running thread, so that it doesn't seem like, well, I don't know, somebody is going to attack Trump for putting this on as an afterthought. But nevertheless, this point here is extremely powerful coming from somebody like the president. It also speaks to something that Mediaite continues on as they continue their commentary. They talk about Trump attacking the the media for being fake news, or specific reporters or specific outlets being fake news. This tweet here speaks to how Trump really feels about the principle of the matter. Nobody likes fake news, but nobody on the right wants fake news to be banned. They just want the same opportunity to speak to dispel the fake news, to try and counter the fake narrative. That's the world that the right wants to live in. The world that the left wants to live in is one where faceless entities get to decide whether or not something is worth your reading, whether or not something is fake. And again, I'll say the same thing that I've been saying before. Banning someone from a platform doesn't make that person wrong. It just means that you don't want the people that you haven't banned yet to be able to hear what that person is saying. That doesn't speak to that person being wrong. That speaks to you being terrified of what they have to say. And you can cloud it behind whatever language you want. You can cloak it behind this language of fairness or anti-hatred or bigotry or things like that. But all you're really saying is, please don't go and find this person's stuff on some other platform, which is inevitably what people are going to do. Immediately after Alex Jones was banned, in the wake of his banning from those different platforms, in the past, was it? I think it was last week. His app on the Apple Store became the 4th most popular app. Full stop. Not the most popular commentary app, not the most popular political app, the 4th most popular app. Full stop. Now, Trump wasn't done talking about, I think that's hilarious that The Purge is a banner ad on this story, but Trump wasn't done talking about censorship. In an interview that he had today, it would appear, Trump says it's very dangerous when Twitter and Facebook self-regulate content. The reason that it is dangerous, I can tell you without even looking at Trump's statements, the reason that it's dangerous is that if you can't see what Twitter and Facebook are removing before you get to see it, then you don't know what they're removing. They could be removing things that are not hateful. They could be removing things that don't violate their terms of service. They could be removing things that fall fully within the purview of protected speech. And you just don't know because you don't get to see it. They could be removing totally benign speech. The bots that they could be employing, the algorithms, can't discriminate between language that is used in jest or facetiously and language that is used with a genuine edge to it. So when somebody says, I'm not going to bother thinking up an example. I'm sure you can think of some that you've seen in the past. But, okay, here we go. So, Miss Zhang, the New York Times editorial writer who said all the evil things about white people and things like that, and then Candace Owens took those tweets, changed white to Jewish, and reposted the tweets, and she was banned from Twitter. That's telling you that it's a person that goes in and discriminates between the tweets. It takes something more than a bot to do that kind of thing, to discriminate between speech that ought to be, the speech that can be protected and speech that's not protected. Now, in my opinion, we shouldn't be making a whole bunch of those kinds of discriminations between speech. It should, I spoke about speech in a previous video, a video that I did a few weeks ago. I'll point you to that for more on whether or not speech should be, whether or not some kind of speech is undeserving of being protected is the way that I'll say it. I want to move on now to the next story that we're going to talk about. Let's talk about some of the developments in the Russia investigation. Now, Newt Gingrich has an opinion poll over on Fox News. He talks about Mueller's fatal mistake. And this is about one thing that happened either late Friday, over the weekend, something like that. It was revealed that one of Trump's attorneys has spent a lot of time, possibly up to 30 hours, talking to the Mueller team without invoking attorney-client or executive privilege. And this means that Mueller should have plenty of information to make his determination about the Russia investigation. He shouldn't need to talk to the president when his attorney has been given explicit instruction to be so open and forthcoming with the Mueller investigation. That's what Newt is calling Mueller's mistake. Now, somebody else made a little bit of a mistake over the weekend. That was Rudy Giuliani. And I don't think that he made a mistake in the message that he was trying to convey. But I think that he did make a little bit of a mistake in the words that he chose to use. As you can see here, the direct quote is that truth isn't truth. Now, the soundbite sounds really jumbled and confused, but let's read some of the transcript here, because they directly quote Giuliani here. When you tell me that, he should testify because he's going to tell the truth and he shouldn't worry, well, that's so silly, because it's somebody's version of the truth, not the truth, Giuliani told NBC's Chuck Todd on Sunday morning during Meet the Press. Now, what Giuliani is talking about is the perjury trap that we've spoken about on a couple of occasions in the past. The perjury trap works like this. There's a couple of different ways, but this is a big one. You go in and sit down and talk to the DOJ, and they ask you a question, and you answer. And then a few weeks go by, and they call you, or they have you in for another interview, and they ask you the same question. And if you don't answer exactly the same way that you did the first time, then bam, you lied to the FBI. One of the times, it doesn't matter which, you lied to the FBI. And now you're going to be prosecuted for, whatever, lying to the FBI, obstruction of justice, whatever it is. And that's one version of the perjury trap. Apparently, there's another version of the perjury trap, which was talked to a little bit about today on the Rush Limbaugh show, probably some a little bit here in Giuliani's interview with Chuck Todd. And that is that you go and talk to the FBI, and then they go and find somebody else who they call a witness who has a different version of the story. And then it doesn't matter that they don't verify who's telling the truth or not. They choose the person that they want to prosecute, and they prosecute that person. They just believe the contrary testimony for the sake of prosecuting you for lying to the FBI. That's the other version of the perjury trap that Giuliani is probably trying desperately to keep Trump out of. It's probably the reason why the other attorney of the president's went and spoke to Mueller on such open terms. Now, the truth isn't truth comes in play down here. In response to Giuliani saying, Trump goes and tells his version of the truth, which could be countered by somebody else, or by somebody else, which creates the perjury trap. Chuck Todd says, well, the truth is the truth. You just shouldn't worry about that. And Giuliani says, no, it isn't truth. Truth isn't truth. The President of the United States, and then it gets jumbled from there. Now, there's a television show that I was watching that put it this way. It's not about what's true. It's about what you can prove in court. And if and here's the twisted thing about what you can prove in court. Theoretically, everybody assumes that the accused is innocent until proven guilty. But the Department of Justice, the United States Department of Justice, has an extremely high conviction rate. And sometimes it's because, the judges and the prosecutors, they know each other and they mingle a lot and they visit a lot. And there's an assumption by the public that the federal government, the United States Department of Justice, is not going to go after somebody that didn't do something wrong. So when it comes to making this kind of an accusation, it's very, very dangerous to play into the hand of someone that wants to get you on criminal terms. And sitting down for an interview with a person that is proven to participate in, to make use of the perjury trap, see Michael Flynn and his example, is extremely risky. It is unnecessarily dangerous. Now, Giuliani tweeted earlier today, or maybe yesterday, earlier today, from his Twitter account, he said, "My statement was not meant as a pontification on moral theology, but one referring to the situation where two people make precisely contradictory statements. The classic he said, she said puzzle. Sometimes further inquiry can reveal the truth. Other times it doesn't." Now, just for fun here, let's look over James Comey. A tweet from James Comey is right next to Rudy Giuliani's tweet. Let's read it. "Truth exists and truth matters. Theoretically." I will insert theoretically here. "Truth has always been the touchstone of our country's justice system and political life. Theoretically. I can give you a couple of counterexamples, James, but I don't think that you will like them very much. People who lie are held accountable, theoretically." There's a reason I keep saying theoretically. Maybe when we get to the end, I'll tell you why. "If we are untethered to truth, our justice system cannot function, and a society based on the rule of law dissolves. Theoretically." I said theoretically, 4 times during the reading of this tweet, and I'll tell you why. Perjury, or the breaking of the oath, do you swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Perjury is a criminal offense punishable by the law. And there is a person, at least one man, who from a position of power committed perjury and to this day has not been punished. That is the truth. But I bet if I said the name of the man, there's a 50-50 chance that a random Joe picked out of the country and watching this video would take offense to the fact that I've invoked that person as an example of truth not mattering. I could give you another example. There was a woman who went on to several television shows, and this wasn't perjury, but there was a woman who lied multiple times about events that happened on foreign soil to American citizens serving the American federal government. That is the truth. That truth does not matter. And I say that truth doesn't matter because that woman has not been held accountable for the lies that she told. There's another woman that also participated in the proliferation of those lies. And to a degree, she's been held accountable, but not according to the way that I think James Comey wants people to be held accountable. But again, if I say those women's names, there's a 50-50 chance that, pick a random American, show them this video, and they will take offense to the fact that I've invoked those women as examples of the truth not mattering. And that's the only reason. It's a very, I'll admit, it's a not narcissistic, it's a pessimistic view of society when you read a tweet like this. And if this wasn't from James Comey, let's say this tweet came from Sean Hannity, I would probably be high-fiving, it would be myself. There's nobody here to high-five. But I wholeheartedly agree, in theory, that truth exists, truth matters, truth has always been the touchstone of our country's justice system and political life. But in reality, you know, and I hate to be the guy that's being the realist, that's being narcissistically realistic, but truth doesn't always matter. The way, at least not the way that I think James Comey is trying to say that truth matters. I got a little bit bogged down there, so let's move right along. The last story that I want to talk about today. European human rights chiefs order the British press not to reveal when terrorists are Muslims in crackdown on freedom of speech. Now, I don't pay a lot of attention to the news over the weekend. This is a very old headline. I just saw that that this is from the 5th of October 2016. I feel very ashamed of that because I believe that there was a newer headline. In fact, I'm going to skip ahead a little bit in the video. I planned on going to this Snopes article later, but Snopes has rated some headlines that I saw going around yesterday or early this morning false. In November 2016, why was I seeing videos about this morning? I promise you guys, I did not go and dig up headlines from 2016 so that I could talk about them in today's video. I promise I saw that headline. I saw a video that somebody produced yesterday / this morning that was talking about this headline. But apparently this is a much older headline that the European Council on, now where did it go? Let me just go get the European human rights chiefs are ordering the British press not to reveal when terrorists are Muslims in a crackdown on freedom of speech. Now, the Snopes article is hilarious because they say that they say false. And you see this headline and you read false, and the reason that they rated the claim false, they rated the claim that the European Union is telling the British press to stop talking about when terrorists are Muslims. But I wanted to bring this up to point to, look at what the media is not talking about. But this happened way back in 2016. So, so I don't have, so it's not going to be really fresh in memory whether or not they actually did talk about this. But that may speak to the fact that they didn't, because you can't remember that they didn't talk, whether or not they talked about it. That probably means that they didn't. So I do apologize for letting myself get sucked into digging up something and talking about it from a year ago, but it can serve as an example. The press, especially in recent months, have been whinging and moaning and complaining about how their right to the freedom of the press is being attacked every day, and they're under assault by the president and his supporters. But when a government agency actually takes action to step on the freedom of the press, they don't talk about it. This would have been a banner headline. You could not have escaped coverage of this story if it had been done by the Trump administration. But it wasn't. It was done by the European civil rights, whatever they are. And so nobody in the mainstream media talked about it, and that's why you can't remember them talking about it. That's going to do it for this video. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. Leave a like if you did. Hit subscribe and hit the bell for notifications so that you don't miss videos that will be coming up in the future. Come back and join me next time. Until then, good night and God bless.